If a horse with a chromosome number of 64 is mated with a donkey with a chromosome number of 62, a sterile mule with 63 chromosomes is born, but scientifically it is not possible for this mule to give birth normally. Since 63 is an odd number, it cannot be divided by 2. Since the chromosome cannot divide into 2, it cannot turn into a reproductive cell, and as a result, mules cannot have foals, but there have been 60 recorded births of sterile mules and the Vatican has recorded these. Why was this event important to the Vatican? Was it worried that something secret would be revealed? Could the Annunaki, who are considered the superior race, have really transferred their genes to an underdeveloped female mammal, monkey, on Earth in order to make us work in gold mines? There are 23 pairs of chromosomes in humans, 22 of which are somatic, autosome, and 1 pair of which are sex chromosomes, sexual. Sex chromosomes are named X and Y. Males have XY chromosomes, and females have XX chromosomes. Neither male nor female can reproduce on their own. Could this transfer be the reason for this chromosome difference? Because if such a synthesis had not occurred, all people born would have the same genetic code, and all people would be clones of each other. As in the example of the mule, since males and females each have 23, i.e. odd chromosomes, reproduction is either not possible or difficult or does not produce natural results. In the 19th century, Ivanov conducted an experiment called the monkey soldier, upon Stalin's instructions, in which a human with 46 chromosomes and a monkey with 48 chromosomes were mated, but for some reason this experiment was prevented by the elites, and as they always do, they covered up the incident by saying, the result was unsuccessful. So what if the Russians succeeded? Down syndrome was first systematically classified and diagnosed as a syndrome by the English physician John Down in 1866. Note the date. I don't want to think badly, but the doctor's name also seemed strange to me. John Langdon Hayden Down. Down means down. I think this is not his real identity, and the word down was added later. If we consider the issue from a religious perspective, the word monkey is used in 3 suras of the Quran, and in all of them it is used as despicable monkey. In other words, it is used in the sense of disdain, but in Maida 66, a physical transformation is also meant. If this is true, we understand that such experiments have been carried out since the time of the Annunaki, and that these genetically modified creatures have been released onto the earth at certain periods. The 8th verse of Nal gives us a clue about these synthesis processes and their results. I think that the genetic difference we call Down syndrome may have a connection with one of these syntheses. Because it is obvious that there is a genetic error and science accepts it. Children with Down syndrome have an extra chromosome 21. Couples with Down syndrome have 47, i.e. an odd number chromosomes. It is scientifically impossible for them to reproduce, but so far only 2 men with Down syndrome have been recorded as fathers. If these experiments had taken place and a different sterile hybrid species with 47 chromosomes had been produced, just like the mule, I can now better understand why the elites wanted to cover it up. If they had not prevented this, 1. The monotheistic creation lies, and all religions would go to waste. 2. In addition, since this sterile species would not be able to give birth normally, they would not be able to find masses of people who could use their minds to exploit. The Vatican and its agents have done their job very well indeed. By the way, I was wondering why World War I was fought at this time. Was this also an ordinary coincidence? Note: the things I mentioned in this video are not definitive and are not intended to criticize anyone. The aim is to push the audience to question. It is certain that something happened between the 18th and 20th centuries. The world was in turmoil during these dates. There is still ongoing friction between the Germans, the British and the Russians. The reason for this friction cannot be political conflicts, because these states already control politics. I hope one day everything they hide from us will be revealed.